He said he thought Dillon Gabriel was a little bit better. Y'all, chill out. You're making this combative when there's no need to be combative.
The fact that you're only here for Shedeur, okay.
The Browns.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In their mind of logic, we're going to, and I'm pretty sure this same group of people complain about things that don't go their way in other realms of life.
As the season draws near, the conversation around Shedeur Sanders is getting more intense, with fans standing firmly behind their quarterback and believing in his potential. On the flip side, some critics haven't held back, calling those supporters naive or even foolish for backing Shedeur before he's had a real shot in the NFL. But sometimes, it's the most passionate voices that stick to what they believe, and Garrett Bush is definitely one of them. Recently, Emmett Golden criticized Shedeur's fans, accusing them of overhyping him and being too defensive. But Garrett Bush wasn't about to let that slide. He clapped back, pointing out the double standard in Emmett's comments. Garrett reminded everyone that Emmett was already pushing for Dillon to be the starter, even though Dillon clearly isn't ready for that spot yet. Garrett's point came through loud and clear. There's no reason to boost other quarterbacks just to downplay what
It's sad. If it doesn't fit your narrative, you are the enemy. No room for civil discourse.
Shedeur brings to the table. Garrett Bush didn't stop there. He made it clear that the support for Shedeur Sanders isn't just about what he can do on the field. There's a bigger picture. Garrett pointed out that Shedeur has already shown what he's made of off the field, especially with how he carries himself in interviews and press conferences. His leadership, confidence, and presence behind the mic have already made a strong impression. Even though Shedeur hasn't played an official NFL game yet, Garrett Bush didn't hold back when responding to the people still doubting him. He took on every critic, questioning how anyone could look at Shedeur and not see the talent. How are they rating him like this when he's clearly that good? Garrett asked. He called out how unfair and inaccurate some of the evaluations were, saying people were seriously underestimating Shedeur's abilities, and fans weren't just going to stay quiet about it. Garrett made one thing crystal clear. Judging Shedeur so harshly before he's even had the chance to prove himself in the league doesn't make sense. There's a lot of talent there that's just waiting to be seen. He kept driving the point home. Shedeur Sanders isn't just a potential future star. He's ready right now. Garrett said Shedeur has what it takes to be the face of the Browns today. From how seriously he prepares, to his calm under pressure, to how he shows up when it matters most. Everything about Shedeur screams leadership, and that's exactly the kind of player Cleveland needs.
Of course, I already think that he's better than the other quarterbacks. Because that move to the 5th round, that's cool. They might have to go along with it, but to me, I think if you ask who got the best tools, I'm going with Shedeur Sanders.
Garrett Bush didn't mince words. He made it crystal clear. If anyone comes after Shedeur Sanders' fans without a good reason, they're going to get the same kind of pushback they're seeing now. No filters, no holding back. Garrett wasn't backing off, and he made sure everyone knew just how real the loyalty and dedication of Shedeur's supporters are. He understood that this fan base isn't just rallying behind Shedeur because of his talent on the field. They believe in his character, his grind, and the idea that he can lead Cleveland into a better future. That support runs deep. Not long ago, Colin Cowherd also decided to take a jab at Shedeur Sanders and his fans, and what he said definitely raised eyebrows. Colin went beyond just sharing an opinion. He challenged Shedeur's supporters, telling them to defend him the same way they had for guys like Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson on Reddit. But this wasn't some offhand take. Colin took it further, targeting everything Shedeur had worked hard to build. His words didn't feel like simple criticism. They came off as straight-up disrespect toward both the player and the people backing him. Colin's remarks weren't just about Shedeur's game. They were a direct hit on the commitment and belief his fan base continues to show.
100 miles an hour. Yep. All you fanboys, go ahead. Manziel, Baker, Deshaun Watson, defended it to the hilt on your Reddit account. Sorry.
After Colin Cowherd made his bold remarks, it didn't take long for the backlash to roll in. Fans weren't about to let that kind of disrespect slide, especially after he came so hard at Shedeur Sanders and the people who support him. The response on social media was fast and intense, with fans speaking out loudly about how upset and frustrated they were. Colin had to face serious heat for what he said, and it quickly became clear that his shots at Shedeur weren't something fans were going to just brush off or forget. Sharing an opinion about a player's talent or potential is one thing. That's part of what makes sports fun to talk about. Everyone's entitled to their own take, and discussions around player projections are nothing new. But going as far as mocking an entire fan base and calling them dumb, that crosses a line. Critiquing Shedeur's performance is fair game, but insulting the people who believe in him, that's a whole different story. Fans put in time, energy, and emotion into rooting for their favorite players, especially someone like Shedeur, who's already shown so much potential. Calling that kind of loyalty dumb isn't just rude, it completely misses what sports fandom is all about. These fans aren't blindly following someone. They see the work Shedeur puts in, they see the future he could have, and they stand behind him because they truly believe in what he can become. Mocking that belief takes away from the heart of being a fan. People care deeply about Shedeur Sanders, not just for what he can do on the field, but for what he represents. For a lot of fans, this isn't just about football. It's about hope. It's about seeing someone lead their team with strength and determination. The idea of Shedeur stepping up as Cleveland's starting QB isn't just some random dream. It's something fans are emotionally tied to. They want to see him succeed, grow, and become the player they know he's capable of being. For many, the connection goes beyond football. It's personal. It's about loyalty, belief, and holding on to the idea that better days are ahead with Shedeur leading the way.
Let me go play once again with your little round. Shedeur Sanders.
Shedeur Sanders is all about the hustle, and he's clearly not taking his foot off the gas anytime soon. Even in the offseason, he's locked in. He was recently seen in Miami, completely focused and getting ready for what might be the biggest test of his football journey so far, a four-man battle for the starting quarterback spot. The buzz around him is real, and with so much on the line, Shedeur isn't just showing up, he's showing up with intention, making it obvious he's determined to earn that role. Amid all the talk and debate around Shedeur Sanders, Garrett Bush has stepped up as one of his most outspoken supporters, not just for the player himself, but for the fans who've stood by him. A lot of those fans have taken heat from critics who label their support as blind or misplaced. But Garrett's not just defending Shedeur's skill set. He's standing strong for the fans who truly see something in him. His sharp responses to voices like Emmett Golden aren't just about defending Shedeur, they're about protecting the loyalty and passion of the fan base. Garrett gets that Shedeur's supporters aren't just tagging along for the ride. They see leadership. They see someone who puts in the work, both on and off the field. Their passion comes from real belief in his vision, in his drive, and in the idea that he has what it takes to lead their team forward. Garrett Bush has made his position clear. He's not going to sit quietly while fans are mocked for standing by their guy. His support goes beyond Shedeur. It's about honoring the commitment and spirit of those who believe in him. In a time when fandom often gets dismissed or questioned, Garrett reminds everyone that this kind of connection between a player and their fans is bigger than just wins and losses. It's about belief, it's about unity, and it's about backing someone who represents something greater. So, what's your take on Shedeur Sanders and the fans who are all in on his journey? Do you believe in what he brings to the table, or do you think the hype's getting ahead of the reality? And if you're still unsure, how do you view the energy surrounding Shedeur and the people who support him? Jump into the comments and let us know where you stand.
Number 2 role still up for grabs. You guys still competing for that number 2 role?
Number 2 role?
Like number 2 string quarterback. The back.
Oh,
yeah.
Honestly, bro, I really don't look into that. I don't care. Whenever it's time for me to get out there and play, I'm going to play. Adversity, things is going to knock you down sometimes, but the main thing about it is you just got to push through it. There's a lot of people in this world that's going through stuff, but, you know, I'm playing for a lot more than just me.
Yes.
And will he kind of be the backup?
Joe will start the game, Dylan will play second, Shedeur will play third.
Shedeur Sanders is done with the chatter. After head coach Kevin Stefanski slotted him as the third-string quarterback behind Dylan Gabriel, he didn't blink. No panic, no backpedaling, just steady confidence. He made it clear he won't get caught up in labels or outside noise. Say what you want, but when the stage is brightest, he intends to be brighter. Sanders isn't wasting energy on distractions. He's locked in, focused, and ready to let his play speak for itself the moment he steps on the field.
Whenever it's time for me to get out there and play, I'm going to play. Whenever it's time for the lights to come on, I'm going to do my thing. I'm not concerned about when it is. I'm not concerned about, you know, how many reps I'm getting at this point is what it is. Because I know when the lights come on, when everything going, when the pressure's on, you know who I am.
Shedeur Sanders isn't losing sleep over Kevin Stefanski's depth chart or the situation around it. He's certain that when his number is called, the film will force a second look at every assumption. Practice rotations and outside noise aren't his focus. He trusts his preparation and what he brings to the position. The equation is simple. When the pressure is real and the lights are hot, he'll answer it and quiet the doubts. He's not chasing validation anywhere else. The field is where he'll do his talking. This isn't just a solo climb for him either. He views his supporters as part of the mission, not spectators on the sideline. He's navigated stretches like this before and found a way through, and that same mindset drives him now. Every window that opens, he plans to seize. The message doesn't change. The work never stopped, the standard hasn't moved, and he's ready to prove it again the moment opportunity meets preparation.
The main thing about it is you just gotta push through it. There's a lot of people in this world that's going through stuff, but I'm playing for a lot more than just me, so regardless of pain, that's always how I've been, even in college, so in high school and everything from when I was young. Regardless of like physically, if I don't feel my best, I still gotta go out there and execute with no excuses.
Since landing in Cleveland, Shedeur Sanders says his perspective has shifted. Simply lacing up for practice each day feels like a gift he used to imagine, not live. He's embracing patience, fully prepared to wait his turn, and when that window opens, he intends to sprint through it. Until then, the plan is simple. Stack work, refine the details, and be over-prepared when the call comes. To critics, he doesn't frame this chapter as a setback at all. It's the runway. This is time to tighten footwork, sharpen reads, and stay mentally locked in for what's next. He's clear that when the moment arrives, he'll put the whole toolkit on display and let the tape answer the questions. The focus hasn't wavered, the workload hasn't eased, and the standard hasn't moved. When opportunity meets preparation, he intends to show exactly who he is and what he can do.
I would say I learned life in a different perspective, and that's why I come here. I'm happy. I always got good energy because, I'm blessed to come out here.
And he's backing it up. In his latest practice, Shedeur Sanders showed exactly what cooking looks like. He came out a touch sluggish while shaking off the last of the injury effects, then locked into rhythm. By the end, one throw stole the entire session, an eye-catching rip that reminded everyone he's trending back to full form. That single play said more than a soundbite ever could. It wasn't just 6 points. It was a snapshot of poise, placement, and field vision. The way he worked through the look, trusted his mechanics, and delivered on time matched the confidence he's been voicing. It was the kind of ball that makes coaches pause, teammates lean in, and critics pump the brakes. Sanders addressed Dillon Gabriel's recent comments with calm and maturity. Even after Gabriel clarified they weren't aimed directly at him, Shedeur said he didn't spend a second dwelling on it. He believes God gives him the steadiness to stay grounded and avoid reacting to every headline. The noise is irrelevant. His focus stays the same. Whatever's said, so be it. Still, his posture told you he understood the subtext. He carried himself like someone who knew the message had him in mind, and he turned it into quiet fuel. The composure wasn't about pretending nothing happened. It was about showing he's bigger than the back and forth. He knows the real answer won't come from a podium. It'll come when he steps between the lines and lets the tape speak.
Honestly, I don't even think about nothing. I don't think about anything. If it's not words or anything, at this point, it can't do anything to me. I know, the God put the ability and the power within me to not even think about nobody else's comments, not care. It is what it is. I spoke with him. He said, nah, bro, that wasn't. He said, that wasn't. He told me on the plane. He came up. He was like, nah, bro, that wasn't at you. I see how they trying to spin. I'm like, oh, all right. I'm not tripping, regardless of whatever it was.
He's right to ignore most of it. Not every take deserves oxygen. There will always be bandwagon critics who pile on when things look rough and pivot the second momentum flips. The same voices throwing shots now will rush to celebrate him once he delivers. And you can bet Colin Cowherd will be near the front of that line. He's been all in on the skepticism around Shedeur Sanders lately, using every opening to question him. Cowherd praised Kevin Stefanski for elevating Dillon Gabriel to quarterback 2 and sliding Shedeur to 3rd, calling it the smart, low-risk move and proof of Stefanski's top-tier instincts. But it's hard to miss how quickly Cowherd writes Shedeur off, as if he's eager to see a miss before the kid gets a fair runway. Cowherd didn't stop there. He mocked Shedeur and his supporters, pointing out that several franchises were searching for starters and many more needed steady backups, and none chose him. He hammered the draft optics too. Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd round versus Shedeur in the 5th framing that as the league's verdict. In his telling, the message is already settled. Shedeur's backers may have shrugged at that before, but, as Cowherd puts it, the numbers make the case.
And many of us believe Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Browns, is the one that nudged the front office into drafting him. So the Browns drafted Dylan Gabriel 2 rounds before. So you can run to your Reddit board and dogpound.com and say it's a conspiracy, but the whole league told you he's a 5th-round quarterback. And the Browns are telling you, Kevin Stefanski, who won 11 games in 2023 with nonsense in a division with the Ravens, in the AFC.
Shedeur Sanders' time in Cleveland is turning into a story of resilience, focus, and quiet resolve. Even as the third-string quarterback behind Dylan Gabriel, he hasn't let rankings or outside opinions throw him off course. From day one, he's kept his eyes on the bigger picture, steady growth, daily preparation, and being ready the second his opportunity arrives. Every critique is fuel, not a verdict, and he's using it to sharpen his game. His recent work on the field backs that up. Coming off injury, he settled in quickly and found his rhythm, capping practice with a pinpoint touchdown that stood out as the day's highlight. The timing, placement, and poise on that throw reflected the same confidence he's been preaching, reading the look, trusting his mechanics, and executing cleanly. It's the kind of rep that gets a coach's attention, earns teammates' trust, and makes skeptics pause. Sanders' maturity shows in how he handles chatter from teammates, rivals, and the media. Whether responding to Dylan Gabriel's comments or brushing off negative noise, he stays grounded, crediting faith and focus for keeping him steady. He knows the talk is part of the job, and he's committed to letting the film speak louder than any quote. Meanwhile, critics like Colin Cowherd have leaned into the doubts, pointing to draft status, Gabriel in the 3rd round, Shedeur in the 5th, and the lack of immediate interest from teams as proof the league has already made up its mind. Sanders isn't letting that define him. He understands success isn't about early labels. It's about persistence, preparation, and performance when it counts. As he keeps stacking work and embracing each rep, it's clear he's preparing for the moment his potential becomes undeniable. The road may be tough, but his discipline and mindset suggest he's more than capable of rising above doubt and making his mark in the NFL. What's your read on Shedeur Sanders' approach so far? Do you think his patience and focus will pay off once he gets real snaps? And how much do takes like Colin Cowherd's actually impact a young quarterback? Do they hinder, or do they add fuel?
But if you're the National Football League, okay, clearly it's not about talent anymore. It's about something else. And I'm going to tell you, I spent a large amount of the last 24 hours thinking about nothing more than I was thinking about collusion.
The $50 million robbery of Shedeur Sanders. Because that's what I just witnessed. Everywhere we've seen, everything we've seen, everybody that has seen him play said he is the 1 or 2 in this draft. I love Cleveland picking this kid.
The NFL draft is usually a time of celebration, a moment when dreams come true and talent gets recognized. But in the spring of 2025, that dream took a sharp turn for Shedeur Sanders. Instead of a milestone, it became a nightmare. One that might lead to one of the biggest lawsuits the NFL has faced in years. Shedeur, the Colorado Buffaloes quarterback and son of Hall of Famer Deion Sanders, was once expected to be a top 10 draft pick. But instead, he slid all the way down to the 5th round, pick number 144, by the Cleveland Browns. Now, quiet speculation has grown into loud conversations. Reports say the Sanders family is getting ready to take legal action against the NFL and several team owners, accusing them of collusion, defamation, and causing long-term financial harm. And the more you look into it, the more complicated it seems. From the outside, Shedeur's sudden drop in the draft doesn't add up.
What we're looking at is a convergence of a lot of history falling into one weekend. There's a history of the NFL and their ideas about protecting the shield and what they feel like. There's histories of the Sanders, history of the quarterback, which makes this really complicated and pretty much impossible to find one specific answer about why Sanders fell. He was probably already a fringe first-round pick, so some of the mock drafts were wrong. There's probably some owners out there who wanted to humble him and Sanders, and then there's just the talent that was there. So I'm not, it's okay, I think, to say we don't know what the specific answer is. What I do know, though, and I know it's maybe a little bit of a tangent, but I feel like it's important to say, I want to say this to folks on the internet and folks who are paying attention. This is not the Colin Kaepernick situation. This is important to know. Colin Kaepernick was absolutely blackballed from the league for standing up for folks' rights. This is not what Shedeur Sanders went to. He was embarrassed for 48 hours in a draft, and he ended up going to a Browns team where he still could possibly be a starter on that team because they managed to have half of Wu-Tang Clan's worth of bad quarterbacks, and he can still work his way up to a starter. So this is not the same situation. His career can still end up being okay.
Shedeur Sanders led the entire NCAA in completion percentage with an impressive 74.1%, broke several school records, and was right at the center of what many called the most talked about college football storyline in the last 20 years. With months of hype suggesting he wouldn't fall past the early second round, the expectation was clear. But instead, he had to sit through 3 painfully long days. Then came pick number 144, a moment that quickly went viral for all the wrong reasons. The cameras at his private draft party cut away. The champagne never even got opened. The room went completely silent. Deion Sanders didn't hold back afterward. According to those close to him, he was furious, allegedly saying, "This league just blackballed my son." At first, it sounded like a heartbroken father speaking out, but not long after, the leak started.
Because how in the hell does 32 teams in the National Football League pass on a quarterback that was universally recognized one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the country entering this draft, and 32 teams passed on him? Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 different times they passed on him. How the hell does that happen? 4 rounds. It doesn't happen to a quarterback. We've never seen anything like this before. We've seen guys drop because of injuries. We've seen guys drop because of off-field issues, but we've never seen a quarterback projected to be a top 20 pick, universally recognized one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft, projected to be a first rounder, in all likelihood a safe bet of a late first rounder, and drop literally to the 5th round. We haven't seen anything like that.
So a lot of times when you go to these combine meetings, teams give you things to challenge you. Teams will have a player's worst plays ready for him, and they'll show him his worst plays and say, "Hey, why don't you explain them?" And Shedeur apparently didn't take to it well. And at one point, one of the few teams that actually was interested in him said, "Well, what do you make of this really bad play?" And Shedeur said, "Maybe I'm not the guy for you." That's not the answer. Another moment. What they do during the film and the combine and the meetings is teams will install mistakes intentionally planted in the install, and they want you to catch them. Shedeur didn't, and when a coach called him out, once again, it didn't sit well. It's like, bro, there's not many teams needing quarterbacks, especially since Pittsburgh appears to have a deal with Aaron Rodgers and Tennessee's getting Cam Ward. So you're down to the Giants, who were not interested at all, and Cleveland, who traded out of that 2 spot because clearly they were looking for next year's class like the Rams are.
Based on internal messages uncovered by a private investigator working with Shedeur Sanders' legal team, messages that haven't been made public yet but are currently being looked into by several independent news outlets, it looks like a few NFL team owners may have raised red flags about the media frenzy and the branding baggage tied to Shedeur. Even more concerning, there are reported claims that some team ownership groups were having behind-the-scenes talks, quietly advising each other to steer clear of drafting Shedeur unless they absolutely had no choice. People close to the Sanders camp say these private conversations even mentioned things Deion said back during Super Bowl week. Those blunt interviews where Coach Prime made it clear they would call the shots and wouldn't play for certain teams. Basically, they were following the same playbook Eli Manning used.
Will you step in Eli Manning like, Deion Sanders like, to the point where like you told him, hey man, I ain't taking that psych test with the Giants. I followed you after that. I said I wasn't taking it either. Will you step in and do some of that if it's the wrong organization and say he ain't going there?
Yeah, but I'm not going to do it publicly. I'll do it privately.
This time around, though, the league supposedly answered with a wall of silence and behind-the-scenes sabotage. According to insiders, the upcoming lawsuit is expected to claim that the NFL worked together to hurt Shedeur's draft stock, not because of his skills, but because of how things looked in the media, internal politics, and bruised egos.
If they played the cards and picked him up in the 5th round, but I surely would like to know how they knew he would still be there in the 5th round. I've been on that stage for years and years and years. I've never seen them position the cameras and give forewarning about who's about to be drafted. I wonder if Cleveland got a call from somebody in the NFL saying, we got to draft this kid. You just robbed this young man of $50 million. And it wasn't on his playing ability. Wow. Shame on you.
Primetime Deion Sanders' natural bravado, coupled with that of his son. They say that the whole interview process wasn't that impressive when he showed up at the NFL scouting combine and refused to work out. That hurt him. The interview process while he was there hurt him, etc., etc. You know what, y'all? I get it. It makes perfect damn sense if he's drafted in the 2nd round. It's the fact that he fell to 5th that's alarming.
After the draft, analysts on Fox Sports tried to make sense of the slide. Some said Shedeur wasn't a once-in-a-generation type of player. Others questioned his intangibles or pointed to the so-called baggage he brought with him. But instead of cooling things down, those comments only added fuel to the fire for Sanders' legal team. They're asking, how does a quarterback with a higher completion percentage than the #1 overall pick fall more than 130 spots? Why did draft experts rate him so highly, yet not one NFL GM publicly pushed back when he slid? From the Sanders camp's point of view, this wasn't just a case of a poor team fit. It looked more like a deliberate effort to send a clear message. Players don't get to control their future. That power belongs to the league. And nothing seemed to capture that message more clearly than Colin Cowherd's widely shared line: "Nobody wants a celebrity backup quarterback." According to sources, that quote is already being looked at closely by attorneys and has shown up in early versions of the legal filing. To them, it's more than just a jab. It's part of the case.